So we've got examples there of horrible deconstructions. I mean, of good deconstructions, rather. But now let's look at some of those horrible deconstructions. And that's what I've done on my channel. But let's look at what makes them so bad. On the one level, you try to make something that the original wasn't. So like I said, Batman, Zack Snyder's Batman. Let's take the character and let's dissect him a little bit and try and figure out, why he does this and that. And Frank Miller, when he did The Dark Knight Returns, in whatever defense you want to make of that, that was considered an Elseworlds. It wasn't ever supposed to be part of the main continuity, and that's fine. But the fact that comics main continuities just started taking their cue from that and Watchmen and so forth, and trying to build and deconstruct their iconic DC continuities to try to reflect that was the problem, right? And that was you got this character who's so self-sacrificing that he goes out every night at great personal risk to himself to try to stop these criminals. He's not even a superpowered being. He's a human being. He does have a lot of resources in his pocket, like the amazing training he was able to get and the resources that his wealth, brings him. So he's not coming out there with nothing in his corner by any means, but he's not an invulnerable superhuman. He's doing this at great personal risk to himself, and he does it every night because he believes so strongly that he should be making a difference and that he doesn't want other children like him to suffer the loss of their parents, or wives to suffer the loss of their husbands, or parents the loss of their children, or whatever. He wants to stop criminals in general. And then once you've got the supervillains that pop up, he does feel a personal, not responsibility, but he's the only one who can. He's the only one who can stop them. Not that he needs to, not that it's his fault or anything, but he's the only one who can stop them. That's a hero. That's a wonderful hero. That's you think about, man, that's aspirational. That's something that should inspire you to try to be that self-sacrificing and others serving in your own life. The wrong take on deconstruction is to say, yeah, something that good isn't very believable. Let's pick that apart and see why he does that. And when it comes in from that intention, then it's to try to drag that aspirational level down a bit. Let's bring him down a few levels because he's a little too good. No one's that good. Don't ask me to be that good. I could never be that good. So let's make him a little believable. Let's darken him up and stuff like that. So something like Zack Snyder's Batman didn't take down the character, deconstruct him to build him up stronger. It took down the character to build him as something that Zack Snyder wanted, a character Zack Snyder would be interested in, not the real Batman. Now we look at Superman. Superman's the other one here. Here's a problem. This is the last part of this analogy, of the last part of the metaphor of the taking down the castle and rebuilding it, as a castle in a new place. Which I'll get to in a moment. But Ricardo Ospina for $5, thank you very much, says devil's advocate position. But Batman originally did use guns and kill his foes since he was based on pulps of the time. Well, then you have to go into the period of formation that every superhero or every popular fictional character had. Any character that eventually enters into the public consciousness has this period of formation. So you're definitely right. The first, few issues or whatever of Batman originally, at one point you had him carry a gun. He was more of a darker pulp hero, but that Batman never made it into the public consciousness. It wasn't until the creators were listening to public feedback. You had this period of formation, and it wasn't until Batman became the more aspirational superhero that then he entered the greater public consciousness. Same thing with Superman. When Superman was first invented, he was more of a trickster. In certain things he couldn't fly, different things like that. A lot of the Kryptonian mythos hadn't been developed yet and whatnot. But in Superman's formation, as he goes from medium to medium into the Fleischer shorts, where they went ahead and made him fly, into the Bud Collyer radio show, where they fleshed out some certain parts. The Kents weren't really a big part of his story to begin with. Eben and Sarah, was that her name? They were the names of his parents at first. They just took him to an orphanage. They didn't even raise him, So that period of formation was let's form the character into what will really truly resonate with the public. And then that's the version that enters into the public consciousness. So Batman with a gun never entered the public consciousness. That was pre-formation period. So that's the answer to that. But it's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a clarification I make periodically, but I don't always think to make it because I think it'd be a little redundant anyway, making it every time I talk about deconstruction. But it's good for us to make it now and then so that people will understand it. So think about Superman, whether it's Zack Snyder's Superman or whether it's the darker New 52 Superman, or even Brian Michael Bendis when he came to the Superman of Rebirth. And even if he didn't necessarily rough up the character of Superman so much, he roughed up the Superman stories, the universe. He brought all this ridiculous darkness to it and melodrama that's not fitting to the stories. Now, the problem with that is, so in our analogy, the rich guy has this Scottish medieval castle deconstructed, carefully deconstructed, taken down, preserve each stone, carefully deconstructed, ships it over to the United States. Okay. He doesn't make an Art Deco building. He makes a castle. But he makes the castle with a radically Art Deco style, or he puts this new addition on the castle that wasn't there before. He puts some different foundations under the castle. He puts in a cellar or something like that. He does these different things to it. He alters it. He didn't demolish it to not make anything like a castle. He wanted to make a castle, but he wanted to alter the castle. That's a good analogy for what Zack Snyder did to Superman, or the New 52 did to Superman, or Brian Michael Bendis did to Superman in more recent years with the Superman story. And the problem with that is, what I've explained on my channel a number of times, is that's a complete misunderstanding of the aspirational archetype. It ties to what I just said a second ago. We don't even believe a character could be that good. So we need to bring him down a few levels, make it a little understandable why he would try to be that good. So this is the silly argument. No, Superman, come on, Man of Steel was just him starting out. That's him learning, guys. Come on, cut him a break. He's learning how to use his powers, and he kills Zods, and now he knows he shouldn't kill. Now he's not going to kill anymore because he learned that lesson. That is the most ridiculous argument anybody could ever make. No. Aspirational heroes do not learn how to be aspirational. They either are from the start or they're not at all. And we've gotten to a culture now that's so nihilistic that it can't even fathom somebody just being good because it's the right thing to do, without any kind of deep tragedies or moral failings that they had to learn that lesson from. And you might say, well, okay, the human experience isn't that we're just born good. We're not all Jesus. That's not how the average human experience is. And fair enough, but stop again trying to push your human experience, that level of realistic or realism into these stories, because these stories exist to inspire us to be better. They don't exist to be a mirror reflection of us. Certain archetypes need to reflect more specifically, our failings and whatnot. As we say, we've got the cathartic motivational types and so forth. But there you go with the Superman of say Batman versus Superman. Okay, so people who want to argue and say no, the Man of Steel was how he learned to be the type of character. One of the many problems with Batman v Superman is that this sort of ridiculous status of a hero that they try and give Superman in that movie is completely unearned. And the movie even kind of knows it's unearned, to the point where you've got people worshiping Superman. So it's like this twisted dark, like even the people who are acknowledging that he's a great hero and he does great things are still doing it in a darkened, unhealthy way. Snyder just can't conceive of true heroism existing in what it should be. And then you fast forward to the Justice League that Joss Whedon did, then suddenly trying to make Superman the guy who is everything we thought he should be. And this was one of the stupid arguments too. I would keep hearing people say, "Give Snyder a chance. The story's not done yet. This Superman is going to become the one that we all know and love. He's going to become the one who leads us into the sun." No, you can't do that. And a perfect example is the Justice League. Whether you're talking about Joss Whedon or Snyder Cut, it's completely unbelievable. Any level of true heroism they actually do try to reflect in Superman is completely unearned. Like, what? Who's this new? Is this a new character that just happens to look like the old one? Because this guy would not be doing any of those things having gone through what he went through before. It's not right character development. It's not right progression. That's just very poor writing. And you might have, excused it with the Whedon cut, thinking that, okay, well, that's what he was trying to do, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work as a film. And even the Snyder cut, even though Snyder's not even remotely understanding of Superman or trying to make him that great hero, he still doesn't make it in a believable fashion. So that's the problem. So if you're going to have a healthy deconstruction, all those people who keep commenting, well, deconstruction is not always a bad thing. No, but it's kind of like saturated fat. It's like, yeah, your body needs the barest minimal level of saturated fat to survive, but it's such a bare minimum level that you can't not get that level from eating things anyway in nature. So it's like it's kind of pointless to talk about your body's need for a certain level of saturated fat. It's kind of stupid to even talk about that because, that's almost what it's like. Any healthy level of deconstruction has to be done under all this oversight and with such a respect for the greater continuity and the greater structure to begin with, that you don't even want to call that deconstruction almost. That's the problem. The biggest thing with deconstruction is people seek to demolish rather than deconstruct, or they deconstruct to build something completely different, whether it's something completely new, a totally different character archetype, or whether they're trying to take what existed before and add some foreign element that doesn't work. Because you think about like Man Without Fear, the Daredevil. Yeah, a lot of story elements were added to that, sure, certainly, but nothing that altered the character that Daredevil would become. Nothing that altered the ultimate character Daredevil entered into that. Or Batman Year One. Miller created certain characters, and he created, really told the story of Jim Gordon and him meeting, that a lot of comics or movies have kind of taken cues from. But that's nothing altered who Batman was. Nothing altered the hero of Batman. You introduced some new elements into the story to help. That's like the new, the new concrete holding the block together a little bit better. But you didn't introduce a new element completely. You didn't say, oh, we're going to make this out of rubber now. No, that's what like a Zack Snyder Superman is. You don't deconstruct to add your own flair and your own addition. Wing of the castle or something that's going to be made all out of wood and look like, some Art Nouveau thing or something. That's the lesson on deconstruction.